Hello friends, welcome back to Motor India Trans Report. As the coverage continues for the Auto Expo Component Show, we are here at the Bearings Pavilion and the highlight of the hall here at Texspin. With me is Mr. Dipen Makwana. Welcome to Motor India Trans Report, Dipen.
Thank you very much.
You have a strong brand presence here at Auto Expo as usual. This time it's even more attractive than what we have seen in the last few editions. What is your take on the Auto Expo 2020 and how have you prepared for the BS6 transition?
Talking about Auto Expo, we have always been extremely excited to participate in the Auto Expo as usual, as you know. And we've been very fortunate to get all the cooperation that we get from the organizers. This year, as you see, we have put up a fairly large presence, and we've been fortunate to get a lot of compliments offline that you have given us. So thank you very much for that. About the BS6, Rajesh, we've not really had to work extremely differently to adopt to BS6, primarily because we have always had our products compatible with the BS6. Not only during this year, but we have had this, over the previous years, because we have, been always, working with the requirements or the compliance that the customers wanted, and therefore we have already done it a few years back, and therefore we were not in a specific need to do it this year, and therefore we are comfortably placed in that.
How has been, overall innovation and product line of yours in the last 1 to 2 years shaped up? Would you want to highlight some specifics that the OEMs kind of demanded from you, and then you said, okay, we have the prototypes ready, and these are the products that would suit best for the upcoming emission norms and the legislation?
We have done, fairly large work and lot of innovations in the drag torque reduction. As you know, bearings are all about frictional torque. Correct. And what we have done is to be compliant with the BS6. We have done a lot of drag torque optimization. Okay. And therefore our bearings have been designed and developed and processed in a specific way to get the drag torque to a minimum limit. And we have in fact converted the standard taper roller bearings, if I give you an example, into an angular contact design, which is an angular contact ball bearing design, where we have in fact reduced the drag torque to almost 40-50%, keeping the dynamic load capacities intact. Sure. And that's predominantly in the differential areas. You must have seen the product line, where we have converted the taper roller bearings into the double row angular contact ball bearing, which is our niche specialization. And we've been fortunate to achieve that last year. So that has been an achievement. Apart from that, we've also done a lot of work in the release bearing system, where we have done the actuations into the hydro-pneumatic actuations. That's a patentable innovation that we have done. And we have converted the manual interventions into the hydraulic and pneumatic actuations. So that is something new, and that's being tested at all the vehicle manufacturers. Tata's are testing it, Ashok Leyland are testing it, Eicher's, Volvo is testing it. So that's we are very excited about that.
So, speaking about innovation and technological developments, as you rightly also said, it's a lot of preparation that you had already done. But we see a lot of disruptions happening, and the disruptions which we call it today, maybe the European countries are already on that, which is the trend of this show on this year also, which is electric. Is there a concern in that area for Texspin or the entire bearing industry when the vehicles will move to electric mobility?
Well, you have to move with time, isn't it? So there will be a shift of the requirements, the technology. Today the IC engines are predominant. Tomorrow the electric engines or electric drivetrain would be predominant, and we are aware about that. And that is, of course, the shift that you have to be prepared. And we have always known that the shift is going to happen. And we are fully prepared for that. The dynamic rolling elements are going to remain, and therefore bearings are going to remain. What kind of bearings are going to remain is the question. And we know what bearings are going to remain. And we are working on that. Particularly if you put it in context, wheels are never going to change. So if you talk about IC engines or electric motors, wheels are going to be there, and therefore we are working very extensively on wheels. So we have been doing the unitized wheel concepts. We have been doing the match set wheel concepts. We've been doing the generation 3 wheel concepts for passenger cars. So we've been doing a lot of work in those areas, predetermined shift that we need to make. So we are working on it.
Wonderful. In fact, you are well prepared, and since your R&D or localization content is high at your plant in Ahmedabad, which is really wonderful. What about your expectations from the show, particularly also from the aftermarket? Since you also now cater to the CV OEMs as well as the PV OEMs, apart from the OEMs, when the OEMs kind of fail to perform at a certain level, you have to rely on the aftermarket. How strong are you there, both on OEMs as well as on the aftermarket front?
Aftermarket has been our one of the strongest growth division. We have launched our aftermarket 10, 12 odd years ago, and we have been fortunate today to have a very strong aftermarket division. Today it is as comparable to the OE division. In the last 12 years we have reached at this position. So aftermarket has always been a very integral part of our business, and just like the OEM division that we do a lot of innovations there, we are doing a lot of innovations in the aftermarket as well. Of course, the scope of innovations are different. OEMs, you need to work with the design, the product reliability, whereas in the aftermarket you have a different area that you need to work upon. And that is the area that we continue to work. There's a lot of work that you need to do in the aftermarket. It's a very diverse country that we have, diverse cultures, and you need to nurture your customers and work with them in a very specific way, depending on the part of the country that you are. But we are doing a lot in the aftermarket, and aftermarket has really been a division which is today almost equal to the OE division today. So we are very fortunate on that.
Super. Wonderful, Dipen. On that note, thank you so much for joining with Motor India Trans Report.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure speaking to you as always.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.